the feedback form attached in the chat box at the end of this session. E-certificates are provided only to those participants who fill the feedback form. So let's begin the session with a prayer. I kindly welcome Kumari Sri Lakshmi CG from 3rd BSc Botany for the prayer and Acharya Anusmaranam.
या कुन्देन्दु तुषारहारधवला या शुभ्रवस्त्रावृता या वीणावरदण्डमण्डितकरा या श्वेतपद्मासना या ब्रह्माच्युतशङ्कर प्रकृतिभिर्देवै सदा पूजिता सा मां पातु सरस्वती भगवती निःशेषजाढ्यापहा आचार्य अनुस्मरणं वन्दे श्रीधर तृप्तिरुन्नयमरुं श्रीपद्मनाभ प्रभो वन्दे श्रीधरि पार्वती प्रियसुतम् आचार्य देवन्दनम् वन्दे भारत केसरेन्द्र सुमते कारुण्यवारानिधे वन्दे हृत्तडपद्ममध्य सुलसत् आचार्य तुभ्यं नमः.
Now, let me welcome Dr. Rani V.S., Assistant Professor, Department of Botany, for the welcome speech.
Thank you, Shruti. Good afternoon to one and all gathered here. Respected Principal, Speaker of today's webinar, Dr. Sarasan Sir, all other dignitaries and participants, a warm welcome for all of you. I'm more than grateful to welcome you all to the webinar Enthralling Orchids, organized by Postgraduate and Research Department of Botany, Sri Vidyadhiraja NSS College, Vazhoor. First of all, I'm welcoming the chairperson of this program, Dr. B. Gopakumar, our principal, SVR NSS College, who always rendering support and encouragement to execute various programs in our college. On behalf of myself and behalf of Department of Botany, welcoming you, sir.
Thank you.
Next, I'm welcoming our special guest, our speaker, Dr. V. Sarasan, sir, research leader, ecosystem, stewardship, Royal Botanical Garden, Kew, England. Amidst the busy schedule, sir is ready to spend his valuable time with us. On behalf of Department of Botany, Accuracy, SVR NSS College, and my own behalf, and those who gathered here, on behalf of those who gathered here, I'm extending a warm welcome for you, sir, for this program.
Thank you.
Okay. Next, I'm welcoming Dr. K. Jayakumar, Assistant Professor, as well as Head of the Department, PG and Research Department of Botany, to this webinar. Who always support? Okay, sir. Next, I am welcoming Dr. Supriya R., Assistant Professor, Department of Botany, as well as the convener of this webinar, who played a pivotal role in organizing this webinar. Welcome you, teacher.
Thank you.
Next, I am welcoming Dr. Preeta Pillai, Dr. Rajesh M.G., Sri Jitin P.M., Sri Gogul G. Nair, faculty members of our department, who helped a lot to materialize this webinar. Next, I am welcoming our accuracy coordinator, Sri Babin B., Assistant Professor, Department of Mathematics, SVR NSS College. Sir, welcoming you. Next, I am welcoming all the faculty members from various departments of our college, as well as the faculty members from other colleges inside and outside the state. Welcoming all of you. Next, I am welcoming our dear students and all other participants to this knowledge sharing evening. I hope All of you make this program a fruitful event. Once again, I am welcoming all of you. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Now it's time for the presidential address. And it's my privilege to welcome our beloved principal, Dr. B. Gopakumar, to deliver the presidential address.
Very good afternoon to all. Respected Head of the Department, Dr. Jayakumar, Convener of the seminar, Dr. Supriya, dear faculty members of Department of Botany, and my the chief guest of the day, Dr. Sarasan, and my dear students. It's my honor and privilege to preside this international talk. As we got an opportunity to familiarize with an international perspective of our topic. Our teachers are in a hurry, or they have a hectic schedule of completing the curriculum. So they couldn't have even, they couldn't spare a few minutes for extra talks. This type of seminar and invited talk will give an opportunity to discuss the things about the curriculum. So it will be very helpful to our students. And regarding the topic, this orchid is having both aesthetic and commercial value. These orchids are very popular flowers in Kerala. So we are all eager to know more about this topic. Hope this seminar is very informative and fabulous session for students. Students, please listen carefully to the session and clear your doubts to make this invited talk a very crystal clear. See, once again, wish all the participants a fabulous session. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Now I request Dr. K. Jayakumar, Head, Department of Botany, to introduce our eminent speaker of the day, Dr. Sarasan, and also to invite the speaker to deliver his talk.
Thank you. Good afternoon, one and all. So, before discharging my duty, I'd like to take a moment to familiarize our department to the audience. Department of Botany is one of the prestigious department of Sri Vidyadhiraja NSS College, Vazhoor, which started functioning as an undergraduate department in 1978 and became a postgraduate department in 1995. So, our department has been here as a center of excellence, successfully serving students both academically and non-academically for the last 34 years and still successfully discharging its objectives. And one of the major achievements is our department has been recognized as a research department in 2022, and we are specialized in both classical as well as applied research areas such as plant taxonomy, algae, microbiology, phytochemistry, molecular biology, and bioinformatics. To academically enrich our stakeholders, our department constantly strives to bring eminent scientists before you through national and international conferences. Today, we have gathered here for another international webinar on the theme Enthralling Orchids. We are proud and fortunate that with us, we have an eminent Indian scientist from Royal Botanical Garden, Dr. V. Sarasan sir, to handle this session. He is currently working as a research leader in the Ecosystem Stewardship, Royal Botanical Garden, Kew, England. His research focuses on the identification and use of fungal mycorrhiza for orchid conservation. Previously, he was the head of conservation biology, Jordan Laboratory, and also served as research scientist in micropropagation unit, Royal Botanical Garden. In his tenure, he produced 2 PhD scholars and 40 research articles in high-impact journals. He also collaborated in projects worth more than £3 million in the last 5 years. Today, in this international webinar, Dr. V. Sarasan sir will reflect his thoughts on the topic Native Orchids to Connect People with Nature. I am quite sure that the students, research scholars, and faculties from various parts of India will be equally benefited by his talk. So, without further ado, let me invite Dr. V. Sarasan sir to handle the session on behalf of Postgraduate and Research Department of Botany and all the participants gathered here. Over to you, sir.
Thank you very much, Dr. Jagma, for the kind introduction. And thank you all, dear Principal, Dr. Rani, Dr. Supriya. Supriya invited me, and also all the other faculty members, PhD students, MSc, and undergraduate students. So this is really, really good for me to speak to. After the pandemic, it started these webinars are more often conducted by Indian universities, and I'm originally from Kerala, and it's really glad to hear universities and colleges like yours are doing this. Otherwise, to invite somebody from another country, you need to spend a lot of money. But these days, it is so easy to organize. If somebody is willing to talk on a specific area, the students may not have the opportunity to spend time and gather that knowledge. So I hope I will give you some of the insight into my research and the areas of research which I would like to do. So, I did my PhD back in Kerala ages ago, and as Dr. Jagumar said, I'm working in Q for the last 24 years. So what I'm going to show you is more about, it is a sort of a selling pitch. You know what a selling pitch is, yeah? A sales girl selling you a sari will talk all about the sari, why you want to buy that, yeah? So what I'm going to do today is why this research area is so important for a state like Kerala, where biodiversity is so rich and vibrant, and no other state has that sort of a biodiversity, and that's why sometimes people call Kerala as God's own country. It is not just the beaches and the other things Kerala can offer, but the green and biodiversity state has a lot, but it is in decline. So how the biodiversity which we got can be saved, can be used? I hope you can see the screen now. Can you?
Yes, sir. You can see.
Okay, brilliant. Okay, so native orchids. So in Kerala, you may be getting hundreds of thousands of orchids from South Asian countries like Thailand or Vietnam or wherever it come from. My families and friends back in India, whenever I go to their homes, I can see an orchid which is not Indian orchid. It is from South Asian countries, Southeast Asian countries. I always thought, why we as a country, the biodiversity in India is not being used successfully to breed orchids, to have these orchids at home. So for conservation related studies and research not being used to, to the level which it deserves. So that is why I came up with this area of work, which is native orchid conservation and human well-being. You may be thinking, how human well-being can be brought into this orchid thing? So the idea is, if you can connect people with nature using orchids, that can be made possible. So I will tell you how. So the major points of my talk today is, as I said, biodiversity conservation, then urbanization in the era of climate change and extinction. It is one of those periods in the history of mankind. We are going through a serious problem of finding places for people to live, building infrastructures, and having a life better than we had 50 years or 100 years or 200 years. So that is at a cost. And that cost is our biodiversity is being thrashed all over the place, whether it is in Kerala or if you take the India as general everywhere. If it is a small island like Madagascar or Mauritius, wherever you go, all these places, the development comes with a price, and that is the biodiversity. Not many people make a shout or have a hartal or a band or anything because biodiversity is lost. No, because it is not valued as it should be. So it has got a value, and we will know that only in the next 100 years when we lose most of the biodiversity and Kerala becomes like any other state, which may look green, but it hasn't got much biodiversity. So how we can connect people with the nature, specifically for Kerala? So can we achieve improved conservation and at the same time better connectivity with the nature? So these are two things, isn't it? Improved connectivity with the nature in an urban area and improved conservation. Can we blend these two together and achieve both these aims? My aim today is to get you across that message to you as students, researchers, academics. It is one of those things which I'm very passionate about, and orchids, as the most complex of all plant groups, is the best group of plant to do that. As you know, urbanization is a problem. I said urbanization comes with a price, and India has the largest rural population, means 89.3 crores, 893 million people. By 2050, 41 plus crore people would move into urban areas. Just imagine our villages and towns become cities in the next 25, 30 years. So that is a frightening thought, and that is the fastest growth in the world. Kerala is on the same trend, or maybe faster. As a green state, it will lose far greater biodiversity than any other state which is going through this sort of development. So how the existing and the newly created urban areas can be made more biodiversity rich and help people connect with nature? Can we use native biodiversity to address these challenges, or we use some East Asian orchid hybrids to do that? So that is where I'm passionately telling everyone I give a presentation to, we should use the orchids which are present in India. They may not give you a flower which lasts for 30 or 40 or 60 days, but they are so beautiful. They are our own plants. They got so much to offer for biodiversity conservation and to connect people with nature. So Kerala and urbanization, I'm coming back, is rapid, sort of urbanization. Roads are, every time I come to India, driving through cities and villages, I know the transformation is really big, but there is a byproduct for that, because when you have larger areas are becoming cities and smaller areas become towns and villages, no more villages, these things will reduce biodiversity declining so fast that the generations of people lose connectivity with nature that will impact our health and our well-being. One of the things which I don't know whether it is the right thing to say, but I always say this because during my childhood, my family smallhold farm, we always had our own wildflowers, and we never had you may still do it, the Attapuklam. We never had an Attapuklam with the flowers we bought from a shop. It all came from our own land. Now, if I go there, not even a single wild, our native plant is anywhere to be seen. That is a scary thought. Our children, our grandchildren never see these native plants, which us or our parents always had that opportunity and that that privilege, basically, to have those plants in our own small back garden or front garden, if you can call it now. But old days we had a large area of land with a small house, but that was so beautiful. So two of the largest urban areas are Kochi and Thiruvananthapuram, showing how urbanization can impact people's health. The reason I'm saying is these two cities are India's um, highest diabetic populations. So people have very little mobility in these two cities. What they can what they can do to get out of the house is to do some shopping. There is no, green space in both these areas, except the one in Trivandrum. The museum, the Kanakund, that area, it is still green. But apart from that, Kerala don't have these green areas for people to enjoy. So cities have very limited open green spaces for people to enjoy. This is right for everyone. I will show you some of the slides at the end of my talk. I live in England, and every 2 miles you travel, we will have a park here. That park will be 5-6 acres at least, sometimes 10 acres of park. It will have all the things, a garden, a gym, a walking, sort of paths, football grounds, cricket pitch, everything in those parks. So we don't have one in Kerala of that kind. So that means people of Kerala needs and have the right to have open green spaces for them to enjoy. That is where the biodiversity comes in. So open green spaces can be used. So I'm showing you the difference between Trivandrum and London. 9 million population in Trivandrum, in London. In Thiruvananthapuram, it is only 1 million. And, if you compare, 47% of London is green space. You may think London is a huge city, not much green space. It is nearly 50% of the green space is covering London. So that is really huge. But in Kerala, it is very, very little. I don't know whether there is anything which we can compare to. So we have to have that sort of a mindset to have everybody living in, whether it is in a small town or in a city, should have open green spaces for them to relax, unwind, and that will help their well-being. So I'm not going through the details, but just to give you an example, more than 10 million trees in London. Of those 13,000 species, there are 3,000 parks, and there are 3 million private gardens. These are houses. Every house got a garden, and 2 national nature reserves. So London is green space of around 6,000 square kilometer. So that is as open green space. But we may have under, 10 square kilometer for the whole Kerala. I may be wrong, but that is the reality in Kerala. So the God's own country, the nickname can become a misnomer. We may not be able to call Kerala the God's own country. The reasons being biodiversity is being losing at alarming rate. Being a small state and densely populated, it is more prone to decline when the villages become towns and towns become cities. Land for housing, farming, infrastructure projects, mining, all leading to rapid decline. Then from the government or the policymakers or from the other, the bodies and stakeholders, there isn't a coherent plan, and it is not being periodically assessed whether we are losing biodiversity. So that gap is really making things worse. So conventional systems are not working for Kerala. So how we can do biodiversity conservation as a priority? So at the moment, as I said, the conventional systems are not working. So thinking outside the box, that is the way to go forward. Just come up with the new ideas. You need to be very creative. What sort of areas can be useful for Kerala with the small limited land available? What things can be done? So the projects must encompass all the risks and come up with the pragmatic mitigation measures. If you lose 100 trees, you need to plant 1,000 trees. And in 25 years, those 1,000 trees will give you at least 50 to 100 trees. Policies must be custom made for Kerala's unique challenges and needs. We shouldn't plan our policies for somebody done in Gujarat or Karnataka or anything. No, this must be custom-made policies for Kerala. So we need to think, we need to have a background, reasonable background planning process. What is needed for Kerala? So these outputs and outcomes and the legacies must be clearly incorporated into that plan. And so that means you can't plan it for 5 years, 10 years, 20 years. These plans must be 25 or 50-year plans for Kerala. So these recovery plans can benefit both plants and humans, or rather put it this way, both biodiversity and humans. So a plan B for conservation and utilization is critical. Utilization is always important, isn't it? We always say medicinal plants are important, but if you are not using it, sort of sustainably, you always lose them. And that is the same case with the Kerala. The biodiversity, if we are losing, then making Kerala a colorful, blooming state, representing its plant biodiversity, must be a priority. We can't always say that we are losing it, but what could be the way to do it? So you need to excite quite a lot of young minds. You may be 18, 19-year-old to maybe 22, 23, doing your undergraduate degree, master's or PhD. So you are sort of planning your future. You are planning your career. So you must have certain areas in front of you, thinking, yeah, that area is good for me. Biodiversity related research and then managers or whatever the type of jobs available must be available to you as students who come out with a degree, master's or PhD. At the moment, Kerala is not producing that sort of undergraduates or postgraduates or PhD level people to work solely on biodiversity conservation and using that biodiversity for the benefit of the people of Kerala. That must be a huge shift that must happen in Kerala. I have spoken to ministers, very senior people, like principal secretaries or secretary level people, politicians. When I talk to them, they all ask me where these orchids are from. So some of those very high-ranking people don't even know whether we can have these sort of orchids to do this project in Kerala. So that gap, I wouldn't blame them because their role is completely different. So the policymakers, the academics and other people must give them that insight. And that is your role. As students, your role. You become, staff members in a college or in a university, or you are taking a position in government. That must be your role. So a different plan to address the capacity, resources and engagement. Engagement is a huge part. I will come to that. Will not be a bad approach for Kerala. So even countries with a far less biodiversity and favorable climate enjoy greater equitable and sustainable plant biodiversity utilization than in India. I have been to several countries, not many, but I have been to several countries, but how they use biodiversity is astonishing. A state like Kerala, we got plenty, but we are not utilizing that. That is why I am passionately talking about why Kerala must use our own orchids. I'm coming to the work which I am doing here. This is Lady Super orchid. This is native to UK. There are several other countries have got this orchid. Look at that, so beautiful, isn't it? It is not a hybrid, it is a species. So orchids are charismatic, complex and diverse. So it doesn't need much maintenance. Once you plant them and flower them, you just ignore them. They will find their way. The nature takes over. So very little maintenance and a long life. I'm talking long life. It may have 50 to 75 years sometimes. So people can, invest a small amount of money and get far greater benefit. Every single penny or every single paisa you spend, you will get hundreds of rupees back. That's what I'm talking about here. So people less connected with nature in an urban landscape, people within and outside cities will benefit if you use orchids. well-being side is the charm and beauty of the orchids is in abundance, as you can see on this picture. And this is suitable for large landscapes, and that will change the landscape. And nature connected will be people antidepressant. I'm not saying that some of you may be stressed. You all will be happy people. But I'm stressed, I know. If I am stressed, my garden is during winter time, I can't really go out and sit in the garden because it is so cold. Minus 15. If I go and sit in the garden, my neighbors would say I'm crazy. So I can't do that. But when it is in spring and summer, I really sit in my garden quite a lot of time, because especially when I'm working from home, that is that an atmosphere of having my plants. It's only a small space, but seeing plants and then that feeling the nature, that is an antidepressant. I don't feel stressed. So everybody has that right to feel using the nature's benefits, which are these beautiful plants and butterflies, moths, and other insects which come to the gardens, whether it is a small private garden or it's a huge garden like the museum garden in Trivandrum. So these are the benefits we can get. I'm not going to the details of this. This is a very good paper published recently, and what they are saying is 30 days wild and the relationship between engagement with nature's beauty, nature connected and well-being. What they found out that intervention of appreciation of beauty, both human and nature focused, is so useful for us. It will help us. So when you are in the midst of nature, that beauty and engagement will help your well-being. These papers are not in any journal. These are really good journals published in the last 10 years. There is a strong scientific evidence. Now I have to come to the orchid biodiversity of India. I'm talking about orchids. I'm saying that we should use. There are 251 species of orchids of 160 genera. Of those, 293 species and 2 genera are endemic in India. This is a checklist prepared by one of my colleagues and friend Andre Schutman from Kew with a few other colleagues from India. I'm talking Kerala specifically. You all need to look very closely onto the left-hand side. Costa Rica, my title is Costa Rica and Kerala. Costa Rica is a country in South America where it has got only 19,730 square miles. But just a bit larger than Kerala. Kerala is 15,000 square miles. Now, Costa Rica is the world's best country for orchids. That means for every 1,000 kilometer, they go to 29 orchids. But what I want you to look at is the other places. India, every 1,000 kilometer, you will have less than 1 orchid, less than half of an orchid. Brazil, less than half. Mexico, less than 1. Thailand, you got 2.3. Laos, 2.8. Yeah, my cough is coming. So what I'm trying to compare here is Kerala got 7 orchids per 1,000 kilometer. So why I'm talking Kerala is a special place for orchids and we must use these orchids. If the 15,000 square miles is taken, how many orchids will be there in Kerala? You can calculate. So your numerical ability will be tested. Yeah, go home and test that. So we will have quite a lot of orchids in Kerala. So Kerala is a small state. It is 3 times as densely settled as the rest of India. So that's a problem. A small state like Kerala, if you compare that with the Tamil Nadu or Andhra Pradesh or something, where the only 1/3 of the people are living in their land, but in Kerala, 3 times of their land people are living in Kerala. So that is a huge challenge for biodiversity. It is an orchid hotspot. it 1% of land mass of India, Kerala has. Yeah, just only 1% of land mass, but we got 2.8% of population of India. So that means it is very congested. Kerala has 20% of orchid diversity in India. The primary forests are vulnerable, and we got floods and all sorts of unseasonal weather, a lack of pollination, natural recruitment. Everything is happening in Kerala. So we have to have some sort of, sort of intervention. The Kerala can become the greenest and the most colorful states in India. I got a solution. I am going to pitch it to you. And if this happens in the next 10, 15 years, not by me, several universities and botanic gardens can take this up and do this. We will have a very blooming state, which is quite unique to compare to any other state in India. We have the diversity. We got an educated and a skilled young generation like you, has been transformative for many changes for more than 100 years compared to any other state. Kerala is so forward thinking and has a population that is flexible and receptive to new ideas. If you put things to other states, I don't think they will receive that well. But in Kerala, people are more receptive. Therefore, the biodiversity-related tourism, improved well-being for all, and transformational landscapes, improved awareness, and ultimately conservation is the main thing. And people will benefit, their well-being will be improved, and we will conserve a lot of orchids. So, these are the orchids we got. Aren't they beautiful? I don't think you can see so many orchids like this in other states. We got these orchids in Kerala. I'm pretty sure that 90% of you haven't seen these orchids. So that tells you why the politicians ask me, have you got these orchids in Kerala? I'm not blaming any of the politicians there, because their role is to find millions or billions of rupees to Kerala and to make the lives of people of Kerala far better than now. They may not be, an orchid expert, but there are orchid experts in Kerala. Their role is to educate the biodiversity related subjects to these policy makers. So these orchids we can use. How we can use? That is where, my idea of how we use these orchids in urban areas can improve conservation and the well-being can make an impact. This is just one orchids, but as you can see, just one species of orchid. This is Vanda tessellata, but it has got so many variations. So one species with so many variations, so you can use that. More variations. So one species, 10, 15, 20 types of flowers. It will be really nice if you want to use it. This will be like, if you put that in that middle slide, what you are seeing is it will cover the trees like that. Now, my research is about how mycorrhiza can be used for orchids. So if we are using urban landscapes and wild habitats, can these orchids will survive? They are coming not from cities. Would they recruit seedlings in an urban environment? If some will and some won't, what are the key factors for such successful colonization? So we can learn that. That is a research part. So you can get seeds, you can produce seedlings, and then you can use that. So these are lady slipper orchids I'm weeding in a glass house. I just had a feedback from one of my horticulturists yesterday. So she said, out of 100 plants, 40 of them survived. I'm putting this slide just to show you that in the past, out of 100 plants, less than 5 of them survived. But we found ways to improve that. This is all part of the research. The money we receive, we use methods to make these plants survive better. So I'm going to tell you a bit more about my research. So I identify with my team of people, mycorrhizal fungi from the roots of wild orchids, then produce symbiotic seedlings. And also, as you saw earlier, we will use a developed transplantation or weaning system so that we can get a lot of orchids out. And then compare these symbiotic seedlings against asymbiotic seedlings, which are not grown with the mycorrhizal fungi. And I also study the soil microbiome. I don't know whether some of you must have come across this term. So if you grab a handful of soil and then extract the DNA from that and you do a sequencing called metabarcoding, you will get thousands and thousands of fungi in that. So if you want to study a wild site, there are so many orchids. And if you want to study an urban site, there are no orchids. You can take soils or bark from these two sites and then study the microbiome. And then you can understand whether the urban site is suitable or the urban tree is suitable for reintroducing some of these orchids. And what kind of lineage of mycorrhizal fungi are there, and what abundance, whether they are available in small quantities or large, how they distributed across these sites, are they, how these fungi are distributed, and how in relation to other fungi. There are thousands, I said. So which one is abundantly present, which one is very low abundance. So I'm not going into the much detail into this. I'm studying an orchid called green-winged orchid. This is the map of the UK. On the left-hand side, there I'm studying two orchids, one from Cumbria. I don't know whether you have seen UK. You must have definitely seen Bollywood films, and people come here for dancing scenes, and they come to these Cumbria sites, which is called the Lake District. It is one of the most. It is a World Heritage Site. It is one of the most beautiful places on earth. It is so beautiful, and there are some orchids there of green-winged, but also very close to my home in London. It's a place called Oxley Meadow. There are same species, 75,000. In Cumbria, it is only 3,000. So what is the difference in soil between these two sites? So I wanted to study this. So the right-hand side is explored, the Cumbria site. I studied 3-4 sites to see how these sites are different in terms of the mycorrhizal fungi and other fungi. So as I said, you can get a gram of soil, extract the DNA, you get the DNA of the quality is something like 2 to 50 nanogram per microliter of DNA. Thousands of OTUs, or operational taxonomic units of fungi can be obtained, and with this you can study them. So this is what we found. So the first one on the left-hand side is the orchid mycorrhizal fungi, and on the right-hand side is all fungi. So you can see there is a big diversity between these sites. You can see the Oxley Meadow, and the all other sites are the north of England, the Cumbria, the Lake District, which I said. So the Oxley Meadow is very different to the Cumbria site, where the all fungi, if you look at the right-hand side, very little. The diversity is very little in the site where we got 75,000 orchids. But on the other sites, the orchids are less available. All other fungi are in abundance. So if you want to study more in detail, this is what you get. I think you may be getting headache. Not to worry. What I'm trying to say is the presence of these fungi on the top, the A, tell you the Oxley Meadow got very good diversity like the other sites, but the abundance, the B on the left-hand side, look at that. There's a key group of that purple fungal group. They are agaricales. The agaricales are in abundance in Oxley Meadow, where 75,000 orchids are present. And that is exactly what you are seeing on the right-hand side. The Glomeraceae is one of the fungus which is found in both these sites, but the major one is the Sebaceaceae that is also abundantly present in both sides. So I'm not going into the details to give you more headache here, because you may be thinking, these are not really easy to understand. What I'm trying to say here is the different families present in different types of orchid habitats are different, completely different. But how they are related can be studied by using how much fungus is in each site you sample your soil. So that is a major thing which you can study. So I'm not going to the details again. There are so many things which you, and also we extracted the DNA from the roots of these plants. This is a tree which gives you which are the types of fungi. There are three groups: the blue, the pink, and the green. Yeah, they are different lineages completely. But within those blue, you will see hundreds and hundreds of different, isolates. Within the pink, there are tens of lineages, and within the green, so they are. If we group them, only three types of mycorrhizal fungi. But within those three types, you will get massive diversity of fungi. So you can bring these fungi into the lab, and then you can germinate seeds and then put out into the wild. So we have produced the symbiotic seedlings and we reintroduced back in the wild. You can see the beach at the far end, and we put those plants in there. And they survived up to 6 months. But in this country, it is all managed by volunteers. But a group of volunteers forgot to water these plants in the wild, and we lost quite a lot of plants. But otherwise, it would have survived. Now, I want to go to the urban landscape and how we can improve urban landscape. This is urban landscape. This is the project which is doing by the Miami, Florida, Fairchild Botanic Garden. They produce the plants and they put stone trees, epiphytes. South Florida landscape, they are putting these plants on. As you can see, the orchids are, I don't know whether you can see my cursor, the orchid is here. So that is, they put on the trees and then they flower, and it looks like this in 10-15 years. These trees will be crowded with orchids. So the people come and see them when they are flower. It is such a majestic scene. So I'm having the same slide again. So I did something with some of the students back in Kerala at Kanavakunnu in October. So as you can see, we put some orchids onto some of the palms and other things. The idea is, if we can put some of our native orchids into trees, we can create sort of Kanavakunnu is bang in the middle of city. There are hundreds of trees. So if you can put quite a lot of orchids in there, the children can understand about our wild orchids. Whether, irrespective of your age, you can come and sit there and enjoy the beauty of these orchids. And this will also inspire people to understand more about them. And also, this will this will help conservation. So my next slide is these orchids which we put now at Kanavakunnu. In few years' time, it will grow and produce large orchids and flower. But sometimes it is not just the university students and larger sort of cities you do these things. Biodiversity is not just orchids. I'm talking to you about orchids, how I want to inspire people like you to get involved with this. But now I am taking a completely different approach, because to inspire you as a group of young people and academics, how we can inspire very, very young people and the different generations to get involved with the biodiversity and improve their area where they live. So I work for a local charity, and recently I managed to get some funding to produce a wildflower meadow for the local community. And so I got the funding, and now we are trying to create the wildflower area. So the reason I am saying this is, like Trivandrum, in City of London, there are areas, there are parks where there is very little biodiversity, and the children don't know much about these wildflowers. Not orchids, wildflowers. So I'm going to show you the project which I'm leading to get this done in London. This is a completely different one, but it is in tandem. I am showing it how you can inspire different generations. So this is a project. As you can see, it is there you can see a tower block, and these are the plants and other plants which we are going to put. This is a charity on the name of Sridharana Guru. We got a charity, and this is working here for the last 45 years. So we just want to create a wildflower area. As you can see here, there is a park, and we are going to create something like this. And last week we started this process. As you can see, small children and all sorts of age groups come and putting seeds into these landscapes, so that in few weeks time we will get wildflowers. And I'm talking to these small children. They are only 7, maybe 8-year old. One of the things which I learned is the best group of people you can inspire are small children. They are so exciting, very inspiring for anyone who wants to know about them. I went to their school. The reason I'm showing you these slides is I went to their school and gave a presentation. There was a slide which I told them, I'm going to tell you something complicated, so you can ask as many questions as you want to understand what it is. And then I said it is about pollination. Before I completed the word pollination, 60 out of 60, I saw nearly 40 hands were raised. Children in here schools, you won't talk until you are being asked to talk. So children will raise their hand, and then the teacher would call your name, and then they can talk. So these 40 children raised their hands. I didn't have a clue why they were raising that. Is that because they want me to put another slide or something? And then the teacher asked, why don't you tell sir what you want to say? Then one 7-year-old said, I know about pollination. And he gave me a lecture of 2 minutes about pollination. I haven't heard a better definition of pollination from another youngster before. He's only 7 years. So children at this age, if they love nature and if they know about the subject and that sort of thing, it is the best time to inspire these children. So I'm going back to the slide which I was showing. These youngsters are PhD students and postgraduates. These are, most of them are MSc students and some of them are PhD students. But if I can inspire these children, some of these children will go on to learn, undergraduate degree in plant science or environment, and may become successful scientists. So to inspire people, we have to give them opportunity to connect with nature. So this young child, she is only 2 years, or the 7 or 8-year-olds with a packet of seeds in their hands. If we can inspire them, when they go to university, they will learn a subject which is captivating and inspiring for them, exciting for them. That will help. Children like these come here. My wife turned up to support me, and quite a lot of other people from my charity, the council. We here, in your place back in Kerala, we call municipality or corporations. Here, everything done by council. So the council people, quite a lot of people turned up, and the school children. So all these children got a packet of seeds in their hand, and they are going to sow the seeds. And I am quite chatty when I'm talking about these children. So at the end, they all done the photos done and everything done. And then they all came to me and said, so what is next? And then I said, I'm going to organize an event in May when you can come and see all the flowers. Oh, so we don't come before that? And I said, yeah, you can come. Oh, we want to come to see how the seeds grow. We want to see when they are growing and when they start to flower. This is what I'm calling inspiring. A child who is 7-year-old, that girl and her friends want to come to the park. Their school is only 5 minutes away. come to the park to see those plants grow, flower, the fruits of their labor. They put those seeds in. They want to see how they are doing it. That is what it is called. So the well-being of these children, they had a fun day, and every time they come and see these flowers, they will get inspired. They want to do the similar sort of things. And then I said, I don't have the dates, but most of them said, oh no, we need to have the dates confirmed because we need to go and tell mom and dad which day it is. So that is the long-term planning for maize events they want to know. So that is what I'm saying. You as an 18-year-old, a 19-year-old, or a 22, 23-year-old doing a PhD, to inspire you, whatever I said may not inspire you, but if something which inspires you about biodiversity, about orchids or other plants, if you passionately believe something needs to be done, you can do a master's, you can do a PhD, but at the same time, you must be part of that planning, advisory sort of role, which will help the government, the policymakers, the politicians to come up with plans so that you can be part of the solution. The problem is there, but the solution is not there. So you can be part of the solution. So I hope my talk at least have slightly inspired you to do some of the things which I said today. And hopefully in the coming months and years, some of you will take up. I'll be coming to Kerala to do another round of planting in October. And we will be doing some planting in Trivandrum, large-scale planting, with the help of University of Kerala, the University of Kerala's Biodiversity Center, Tropical Botanic Garden. We got some funding, so that will be happening. So if you can come and visit these orchids in the future, please do so and be part of this project. So thank you very much. And these are the staff members who supported me over the years in the last 24 years. Some of them are there. I written their names specifically. I had so many MSc students, undergraduate students who done their projects with me. They really helped my project evolve and come to this stage. And I also got funding from so many agencies in the last 25 years. So I thank them. And thank you all very much for listening to me, even if I got a very croaky voice. I hope you all got the message, and thank you very much. And if you have any questions, please do not hesitate to contact me. The reasons I show you the children's slide is also to tell you something else. After my presentation at school, I expected 2 or 3 children will ask me questions. Nearly 25 children asked me questions, and at the end, the teacher said, "Oh, sir, need to go. You can all ask all the questions when you go to the park, when you do the seed sowing." So whenever I give a talk to academics or researchers, or it is not, they are not asking questions because they don't want to know it. But most of the things I say, they will understand. But for children, they want to know more about this, and they ask the right questions. So some of you may not know anything about what I asked or doubts, please ask. So I will be happy to answer any questions you may have. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for the wonderful presentation. Your presentation was informative, engaging, and provided us with a deeper understanding of the world of orchids. Now the session is open for discussion. All the participants have the chance to ask questions and engage with our resource person.
Yeah,
Good
I can
afternoon,
see
sir.
there are
afternoon,
people
sir.
there. Sorry, yeah, go ahead.
I am Dr. Cynthia from All Saints College.
Hi, Cynthia.
Actually, I collect many wild orchids and maintain in my house. And I
Okay.
saw many of the plants are setting fruits. But is
Ah.
there any shortcut method to raise seedlings from these fruits? Because you
Wow.
mentioned about a symbiotic method of seedling development, right?
Yeah. I can hook you up to the University of Kerala and Tropical Botanic Garden. You can give them these seeds, and they will produce seedlings for you. But for symbiotic seedlings, one of the things which you could do is if you can collect some roots and then culture the roots, you maybe get some of the mycorrhiza. It is not cheap. Also, in college, got sort of a lab facility to culture fungi and that sort of stuff.
No, sir. No, sir.
Okay.
Unfortunately, no.
Yeah, okay. But you don't need mycorrhizal fungi for these, because these are all epiphytes. So we can get away with that. Once you put onto trees, they will recruit the fungi from the bark of the tree. But I would like you to get involved with the project. If you really want to germinate the seeds of your the capsules, I can easily get you involved, and we can produce seedlings. And if your students are interested, we could get them involved as well.
Yeah, I would like to collaborate with you in this event.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Yeah, brilliant.
Uh,
How many
another-
species do you have?
I think I have more than 10.
Oh,
Dendrobium,
really?
Ephyllum. Yeah. My personal
Wow.
collection only.
Your personal collection. Why
Yeah,
don't?
I've done PhD in TBGRI.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
But
Yeah, I love to have some of those
Yeah.
collections for our
yeah,
Trivandrum.
I'll send the photos, sir. I want
Yeah.
identification also.
Yeah.
Then one Unisho Puva, Dendrobium obtusa, right?
Obtusa, yeah,
Yeah, that is also I'm having.
yeah.
I shared with one student from Department of Botany also.
Okay, okay. So what's your sort of research area you are in?
Actually, I'm doing biosystematic. I have 5 students. They are doing PhD in biosystematics of medicinal plants.
Okay, okay.
This is because of my personal enthusiasm.
Okay, yeah. I this is what I'm talking about, because we are not talking about serious research here. It is more about the engagement side, yeah. So if you can have 10 species of orchids, and then if you can share with the millions of people come and visit the city of Trivandrum, foreign tourists, domestic tourists, and the locals, that is more rewarding than some of the research results we get from our research. So if you can get, I could invite you as a partner of, I'm really getting a network growing at the moment. So people like you can be part of that partnership.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. I would like to get your mail ID also,
Yeah,
so that
sure,
I can
sure.
share my plans.
Yeah, sure.
Thank you, sir.
Sir, good afternoon. Good afternoon, sir.
Hello, Sudev. Good afternoon. Go ahead.
Myself is Sudhir, sir. I'm doing my PG in Botany, SVR College, Vazhoor.
Yeah.
Actually, I'm very enthusiastic about orchid cultivation.
Yeah.
And I want to know about that. There is any government provision for the successful nurturing or promoting the entrepreneurship in orchid culture?
Can you repeat that? My line is breaking up. Can you repeat the question?
I'm actually very enthusiastic about orchid cultivation,
Yeah.
and the governmental provision for the successful nurturing.
മലയാളത്തിൽ പറഞ്ഞോ? കുഴപ്പമില്ല, മലയാളത്തിൽ പറഞ്ഞോ. എനിക്ക് നേരെ കിട്ടുന്നില്ല. മലയാളത്തിൽ പറഞ്ഞേ.
സാർ, ഞാൻ ഓൾറെഡി ഓർക്കിഡ് കൾട്ടിവേറ്റ് താല്പര്യമുള്ള ഒരു വ്യക്തിയാണ്.
ഓക്കെ.
അപ്പോ ഈ കേരളത്തിൽ ഇങ്ങനെ ഏതെങ്കിലും തരത്തിലുള്ള ഗവൺമെന്റിലായിട്ടുള്ള വേണ്ടിയിട്ടായിരുന്നു.
ഗവൺമെന്റ് സ്കീം ഉണ്ടോന്നോ ഓർക്കിഡ് പ്രോപ്പഗേറ്റ് ചെയ്യാനുള്ള? അതാണോ ചോദിച്ചത്? അല്ല, the schemes for orchid propagation, I think, one of the things which I found out, not recently, a few years ago, there are so many government, central and state government horticulture development project grants are available. Some of them are large grants, some of them are small grants. You can even get small grants, I think 10 to 20 lakhs for creating, shade houses, small micropop in vitro labs, and that sort of thing. Especially for a young graduate or postgraduate, What you need is the support from your local, what is it called, the agriculture, horticulture development side, the government agency. You speak to any of them, they will be able to help you on that. I spoke to somebody because we wanted to create something similar, but at the moment, at the time, I didn't explore the full, the passage to that process, mainly because it is a bit commercial side, so I didn't go that way. But I'm pretty sure that there are agencies, government agencies, will really fund you to get planting material. You will get a lab set up, and also, but you need to do is this is the main thing I would say. Make a business plan. Your business plan must be how many orchids you want to grow, what is the demand for those orchids, how much is your cost to produce those orchids, how much money you can gain from each orchid when you sell it. And if it is a profitable one, then definitely go for it. I would say orchids are not sometimes easy to produce when you have a loss in terms of weaning and that sort of thing. But on a smaller scale, you can start with you can hire a small tissue culture lab to produce 10,000 orchids. You pay a price, and then for that 10,000 orchids, then bring those on and then grow in shade houses. You can easily grow them. So I think you can do it in a very small scale, but if you are very ambitious, you can do it in a larger scale as well. Which you all the best with that.
Thank you, sir. Sir, as a student, how can we get involved with orchid conservation effort or initiative to promote natural connection?
I think this is what is lacking in Kerala. That is a very good question. Orchid conservation in Kerala, it is not done as a coordinated sort of a, we don't have Kerala don't have an orchid society, an orchid network. One of the things which I would love to do that as part of this project is create one. So I will be coming to Kerala in October. So I will have a workshop as part of this. So I will invite university students like you to come and join this network, so we can create a Kerala sort of orchid network, mainly not for these Southeast Asian orchids, but for Kerala and Indian native orchids. This is in the plan. I was really impressed with the Dr. Cynthia was saying she got a personal collection of 10 species of orchids. One of the orchids that she said is, I was talking to my colleagues how we can get those orchids, and she got that. And this is, if I talk to 1,000 people like Dr. Cynthia who got that sort of collection, we are talking about a huge collection of orchids sitting in private collections. But I'm not talking about getting an orchid from Cynthia. What I'm talking about, if we make a network of 100 Dr. Cynthias of similar sort of collections, in Kerala, we are talking about a very successful network of people who can share orchids, who can be part of conservation, who can also be part of the urban, sort of a landscape master plans. So definitely your question, I think, this is one of the things which I have. I talked to very senior politicians and some government ministers regarding this. And I even talked to the tourism minister regarding this. He is very passionate about young people involved in the type of project which I'm talking about. But we haven't discussed this when I came last time. He didn't have the time. I didn't get the time to talk to other people to organize a meeting. But definitely, I will talk to the minister, if possible, to develop a network like this involving most of the university students and college students, where people with passion for orchids can be part of this network. So rest assured, definitely we will be developing a network of that side, a Kerala Orchid Society style of network, but not for commercial orchids, but for our native orchids, and how we can use that for breeding, for producing plants for horticulture, and also for networking. People like Dr. Cynthia Wolves, you can be part of the network, and then you can also benefit from your own collection, producing plants, and you can also sell it and then support the conservation.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, anyone else?
Good afternoon, sir. I'm Sandra.
Hello, Sandra.
You said that our biodiversity, including orchids, is reducing or losing. Sir, are there any specific species or particular habitats of orchids that are particularly now at risk? If there, what can be done to protect them?
Brilliant question. Very, very good question. This is what one of the slides which I showed you said. We don't have periodical biodiversity assessments. So if I told you there are 250 orchids in Kerala, of those some of them are declining, I may not have that numbers. Or any orchid systematist or conservation person can say this specific orchid is declining. But I can tell you, most of the terrestrial orchids in Kerala are in fast decline. Terrestrial orchids? Terrestrial orchids are found on the ground, the ground orchids. They are in fast decline. Because the main reason being our land being used so badly, our climate is changing so badly. What are the problems with the climate changing? Say, for example, in my old days as a student or as a child, the first week of June, the monsoon used to start. Now, the monsoon starting maybe middle of May, or well before that. Or it may not start in June at all. So what happens with that? That means the pollinators which may come out during the monsoon are not coming out during that time. So that means they don't have the flowers to pollinate. That means these pollinators will die down. So that means there may not be any seed set. That means no seedlings. That means the population will decline. So the most high priority ones are the terrestrial ones. So you may remember the slide I show you. The slide I show you there. The very first slide, which was the slide of Paphiopedilum drurii. Actually, this Paphiopedilum drurii was quite abundant in Kerala at some stage. But it is only in Agastya Malay at the moment, and that is declining. This is a lithophyte. Lithophyte means they are found in areas where the rocks and boulders are there. So that means it's a niche habitat. So wherever there are orchids found in niche habitat, niche means very unique habitat, these orchids are prone to decline. So all the terrestrial orchids in Kerala are fast declining. And all of them are dependent on mycorrhizal fungi. So that is my research area. So the mycorrhizal fungi are so significant. So the land use change or the climate or the flooding causing recently could impact these terrestrial orchids. So your question is a very important one. So some of these orchids which we don't know are declining. And so there should be some assessments by these botanic gardens and other conservation people to see which orchids are declining and which one are there still in small population must be rescued.
Sir, I would like to add one more point.
Yeah.
Because from Trivandrum to Ernakulam, the state highways are widening.
Absolutely.
Huge trees are being cut down. And many of the epiphytic orchids population has been lost.
Exactly. I put that slide there. I said infrastructure projects. I was traveling from my apartment in Trivandrum to my family home in Kallambalam. and the stretch of road from very close to Kalambalam to Chatanur or somewhere where another journey I took, I could see so many trees came down and there were so many orchids stuck to it. I almost dried. Dr. Cynthia said it's exactly right, because there are so many road building programs going on in Kerala, and most of these orchids are nobody is asking the question. Oh, people may ask why you are cutting down the trees, but nobody would ask why these orchids are not being rehoused. So our project is mainly working on identifying the roads which are going to be expanded, and finding trees where orchids are, and then rehabilitating those orchids. So if any of you are interested in that, you can be part of that process, and then we may have a small amount of grant which may be used to get some of these orchids collected and that sort of thing. So definitely it is worth doing that rescue operation. So as you said, maybe thousands and thousands of these orchids are being lost as part of the road widening program in Kerala. And I think there are 10 more roads are being identified in the next 5 years. They are going to be widened, so that we got 5 years, and in the next 2 years these orchids will be lost. So it is timely to do that sort of thing. Yeah, that's a very good point. Anybody else?
Good evening, sir.
Hello, Sri Lakshmi.
Yes, sir. Good evening, sir.
Okay. Yeah, good evening.
Sir, my question is, what are some of the most interesting or surprising findings you discovered during your research on orchids?
Wow, most interesting. The recent one, the most interesting one I found out was some of the orchids which we are trying to grow, when there are only very few plants left in the wild, we have to go to other countries to get the mycorrhiza, because in the country where these plants are left with only 1 or 2 plants, we are not allowed to touch that plant to get a root and then identify the mycorrhizal fungus. So in the UK, we got lady slipper orchid, the first slide I show you, the beautiful orchid. There's only 1 plant left in the wild. So I have to go to somewhere else. And for that, I have to get the government permission to bring that fungus to this country. And still, there is a very high level, government high level, ministerial level discussions. A panel is being constituted to decide whether people like me can bring in mycorrhizal fungi of the same species from another country. But I already doing the research in my lab, bringing the fungus from France, Spain, Italy. There are so many other countries I can bring plants and fungi, and in the the lab environment I can still grow these fungi. So I may not know whether that permission will be given, but that is the only last resort for these orchids if they are down to a single individual. So that will be a culture change. If the UK government tell me that, yes, you can go ahead and then bring the fungus, then that will be a very, very big result for me, and also for people like me who are working in this area. So that's very important, and that I would say that is one of the key things which I have to work on it until I get the all clear green flag. I can't do the work, but I know that I can produce symbiotic seedlings using the fungus which is from another country. But the policymakers, the governments, it is the government secretary who drafted a big team of people, about 17 people, for animals, butterflies, trees, plants, all sorts of things, to come up with a plan whether what is the best solution to do conservation translocation, we call it, for each and every species which we are trying to work on. So I would say that is the one.
Thank you, sir.
Any more question?
Good afternoon, sir.
Vigila, yeah?
Yes, I am Vigila. Sir, what are some of the most pressing environmental challenges facing orchids and their ecosystem today?
What are they? Your line is a bit breaking. Can you repeat that
Sir,
again?
sir, what are some of the most pressing environmental challenges facing orchids and their ecosystem today?
Yeah. I would say for that, I have to take you to China. The reason I'm saying taking you to China is the country with the one of the best biodiversity for orchids. And there, one of the things, you all must have heard about Chinese medicine, yeah? So in Chinese medicine, there are so many things they sell as raw products. So for everything, even I'm drinking a green tea here, yeah? And in Chinese herbal tea market, there are tens of orchid species they are using. So they collect the rhizome or the tuber, dry it and wrap it up, and then as a single wrap they sell it. And each wrap you can take it and then hot water, you put that orchid in there, and they will tell you that it will cure COVID or whatever, and it is it treats you everything. So thousands of Chinese medicine, and there are so many dendrobium species of Chinese origin are being uprooted from the wild for medicinal purposes. They don't use tissue culture dendrobiums. No, they don't like it. They only like the ones which are collected from the wild. So I don't know whether people in Kerala are collecting wild orchids. If that is happening, that is a really, really bad thing to do. In many parts of India, there are people are collecting wild orchids. So illegal collecting is a serious problem. We don't have a serious problem as in China. We don't collect that many orchids from the wild. So illegal collecting. Then there are so many plants of orchids people use for making food additives and that sort of thing. So they collect illegally. Then wildfires in some countries like Australia, some of the European countries, Madagascar, they man-made or other fires killing quite a lot of orchids. Then climate change. We can't say it is fire, flood, or unseasonal rain, or drought, or high temperature. The climate change is the most serious problem in the next few years we will be facing, especially a state like Kerala. The natural environment where these orchids are, we will have serious issues. I haven't heard a wild fire occasionally happening in Kerala when I was there, but now I am hearing stories that in forests there are wildfires. So these are the temperature, unusually high temperature, and the forest flows getting so dried up, and then natural fires can happen. So that will clear out quite a lot of orchids. So that is another environmental problem. Then, after all, these infrastructure projects, Dr. Cynthia and we were talking about these major road projects, building programs, mining. So we mine for natural resources, isn't it? Like rocks or whatever. We mine for clay, for making bricks or whatever. So all these have an impact on the environment is being tarnished so badly. So that is one of many problems. It is not one reason. there are so many reasons. I'm sharing my email address. If any of you want to contact me, you can contact. Yeah. And so it is so many issues in Kerala. I would say, as a state with a very limited area for people to live, we are using natural resources more than any other state in India. That is creating a lot of problem. And the second thing is, our villages are becoming towns, our towns are becoming major cities. This is creating quite a lot of biodiversity loss as well. Is that okay, Bijila?
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Hello, sir.
Hello.
My name is Niranjana and I'm doing third year BSc Botany.
Hello.
Sir, first, I want to thank you for your wonderful class. It was very interesting.
Uh-huh.
And my question is that how do you envision the role of orchids and nature connection evolving in the future, and what impact do you hope to see?
Very good question. You put me on the spot. Okay. Well, I am an eternal optimist. I know my staff members struggle all these years because I tell them some ideas and they sometimes look at each other whether this will happen. And I always had, I was so lucky, some of the ideas which I always thought may happen and may be fruitful. Most of the time it worked. So I would say in Kerala, what I am trying to do is, I would like to do this in Kerala, firstly in Trivandrum, and then next time I will be trying to do this in Kochi. I will be meeting up people. But I don't really want to. I don't really want to do just in Kerala. I want to do this in other states as well. So I would say in few years time, in the next 10 years, if I can see 3-4 of our cities in Kerala or in other states will have native orchids, hundreds of thousands of these orchids changing the city landscape, I would be very, very happy. I would be very happy to have that. It worked really well. So I'm really ambitious on this. I would say firstly Trivandrum, few places, then Kochi, then a couple of other states in India, and but the main priority is Trivandrum at the moment. And then my next visit, I will be talking to people from Kochi to see whether it can be done in Kochi. And if that happens, that will be the first step to widen it to other places. So it should be more of an India project rather than a Kerala project. So it is to inspire people. I wouldn't go and do this with quite a lot of other people. I want to inspire people like you and your teachers and researchers getting involved, and they take up these things and then do it in small towns and cities and things. So that will be a really good thing. I'm not talking just about orchids. In future, I may even say some of our native plants can be part of this. And earlier I think it was Bijila asked me what are the orchids more under threat. And I would love to have some of the terrestrial orchids, ground orchids also planted, not just on trees. So they, yeah. Niranjana, you may see near you somewhere thousands of orchids on trees, and you can visit and then enjoy that. Hopefully you can come to Trivandrum and see that.
Yes, thank you, sir. And I wish all your ambitions will come true one day.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir.
Okay, I can see quite a lot of messages here. Thank you. Okay,
Sir?
is that Sandra? Yeah, go ahead.
Hello, sir. Good
Yeah.
afternoon. My name
Yeah.
is Sandra.
Yeah.
Sir, what advice would you give to individuals who are interested in cultivating orchids in their homes?
Wow. I I may be the last person to give advice on growing orchids at home, because at home most of you may be growing the hybrids, aren't you? Is that hybrid you are talking about? Sandra, can you hear me? Is it hybrid
sir.
orchid? Is it hybrid orchid
Yes,
or
sir.
native orchid? Okay, if it is hybrid, I think the only thing you shouldn't do is don't put that in a container where the water is standing water, because the roots will rot. So there shouldn't be the moisture must only be sort of it's just a spray, and there shouldn't be much water, and it shouldn't be in direct sunlight, but it needs sunlight. So if it doesn't scorch the leaves, it will be happy. So a bit of a shade, but it should be in sunlight. Maybe you could choose a north-facing side of your house. That may be better, because the south-facing you may get early morning and evening, afternoon sun. So you can put it somewhere it doesn't directly beaming with the sun on the leaves, so that may not be very good. So it would be good to have sunlight, but not direct sunlight. I mean, not to scorch it. Then feeding, I don't think most of these orchids don't need any feed, but if you go to any like a University of Florida orchid growing kit sort of website or something, you can make your own growing media. So simple, it doesn't need much feed. If you overfeed it, you will kill your orchid. So it is better. There is one thing which I can share with you. This is interesting, because I spoke to somebody years ago, and he's a very, very senior director at the Horticulture Ministry in Kerala. And I told him, have you ever publicized the use of seaweed in Kerala agriculture? And he said, I haven't heard about the seaweeds available in Kerala can be used. Then that was an eye-opener for me. Seaweed extract is one of the best things, natural thing you can use for any plants. It hasn't got minerals, but it has got a lot of micronutrients and other things plants need. So if you can get a seaweed extract, dilute it, and then you can spray on the plant. Simple as that. That will help you orchids. So do some research. It is cheap to buy. I'm pretty sure that Amazon or Flipkart or somewhere you can get some seaweed extract. Don't overfeed it. Once in a while, if you spray it, that is good for orchids. Okay. Is there any more questions?
Hi, sir. I have one more question.
Okay, go ahead, Srilashmi.
Sir, are there any challenges or obstacles that you have encountered when trying to use orchids to connect people with nature? And sir, if so, how have you addressed these challenges?
Okay, good question. My challenges are mainly to get funding. So we got funding. We got nearly 30 lakhs of funding so far, but I want more than that. I want quite a lot of money. So one of the things when I come to India and then fundraise, I'm a British citizen, so I'm not an Indian citizen anymore. So I need to be very careful what sort of funding I can get. So that is one of the major challenges. So I'm still trying to get funding because funding in the sense. Earlier, Sandra asked me what would be my, it wasn't Sandra, the one before, how many, orchids I want to see or where I want to see. In my ideal situation, in 10 years' time, I want 10 million orchids grown, wild orchids grown in India, in 3-4 states. So to produce 10 million, I'm talking about 1 crore orchids. To produce 1 crore orchids, I need at least, in between 5 to 10 crores of rupees. Yeah, but if you want to have a 1 crore, what is the hybrid orchids, you need a lot more money. But we can produce the native orchids with less money. Because I will be developing a huge network of universities and colleges. So as a student projects and that sort of thing, it will be a really good one to do. Yeah. So Deva, I will come back to you in a minute. So it will be very good to have that sort of thing, to have money available for us for the next 10 years, and then I can get quite a lot of young people get involved. They can do projects, they can publish their papers on these things. So I think that is the most challenging part, and I will get a lot of satisfaction from that, mainly because I inspire people like you, like youngsters, so they can be part of this process. So the challenge is money, but the benefits are I will be able to inspire people like you.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah. Somebody earlier raised their hand. Come back. Who was that? Somebody raised a hand. Okay. Is there any more question? Looks like no more.
If there's no more questions, let's wind up the session by vote of thanks. Before that, once again, we remind all our dear students to fill the feedback form in order to receive his certificates. Now I welcome Dr. Supriya R., Assistant Professor, Department of Botany, to deliver the vote of thanks for this seminar.
So good evening, everyone. So respected Principal Sri Gogumar sir, our speaker of the day, Dr. V. Sarasan, Dr. A. Gangaprasad, Professor and Head Department of Biotechnology, University of Kerala, Dr. K. Jayagumar, Assistant Professor and Head Postgraduate and Research Department of Botany, SPRNSS College, my dear colleagues and faculty members of Department of Botany, esteemed faculty members of other colleges, research scholars, my dear students, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, Sarasan sir, we are extremely grateful for the fascinating and informative talk that you have delivered to us today. So your presentation has certainly enlightened us about the importance of orchids in our ecosystem and their role in connecting people with nature. So it gives me immense pleasure to extend my gratitude and offer a vote of thanks to our esteemed scientist for sharing his insights and knowledge on native orchids that connect people with nature. On behalf of the entire fraternity of SPRNSS College Vazhoor and on behalf of the organizing committee and on my personal behalf, I take this opportunity to thank Dr. V. Sarasan for his erudite talk. So your dedication and passion towards your work are truly inspiring, and your research has shed light on the significance of orchids as an indicator of environmental health and the critical role they play in conservation efforts. He also mentioned about connecting people with nature, specifically for Kerala too. So we also appreciate the time and effort you have taken to share your expertise with us, and your presentation has left us a lasting impact on our minds. We are sure that the knowledge we have gained today will help us to better appreciate and preserve our natural environment. Once again, on behalf of everyone present here, I extend my heartfelt thanks to you for your enlightening talk and for sharing your passion and knowledge with us. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you very much. It was really fascinating to see so many people. I think at one point I think I saw nearly 100 people. That I didn't know that. You said yours is a small college, but you organized a really nice webinar. Thank you very much for inviting me. Sometimes I may not be able to do these sort of things because of the time difference or the logistics come with it. But it was really nice to talk to you today, and hope to see you again sometime soon. Maybe when I come to India. So thank you all.
Thank you very much.
You all the best with your exams and everything you do. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Okay,
Next, I would like to thank our. Okay, sir.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Of course, sir. Next, I would like to thank our respected principal, Dr. B. Gopagoma, for his immense support, guidance, and participation for conducting this program. His valuable suggestions helped us a lot in making this program a grand success. Thank you very much, sir. I also thank Dr. A. Gangaprasad, Professor and Head Department of Biotechnology, University of Kerala, who has helped us to arrange the speaker for us today. Thank you very much, sir. He is present here now. So the success of this program is due to the untiring efforts and wholehearted support of all the staff and faculty members of Department of Botany, SVR NSS College, including our head, Dr. K. Jayaguma, and other faculty members, Dr. Preeta Pillai, Dr. Rajesh MG, Dr. Rani VS, Mr. Jitin PM, and Mr. Gogul G. I thank each one of you from the bottom of my heart. I also thank our IQAC coordinator, Sri Babin B, Assistant Professor, Department of Mathematics, for his efforts and technical support that made this online webinar a successful one. Thanks a lot, sir. The program would not have become a success without the participation of the delegates, including faculty members from other colleges, research scholars, and dear students, who, in spite of being a holiday, showed keen interest and participated the entire session of the webinar. Thank you very much for your interest and participation. Active participation, and I am sure that each one of you benefited in one way or other by this program. Once again, I thank each one of you for attending the program, and I am sorry if I missed any one of you. Thank you.